I got hoodoo, I got voodoo, I got things I ain't even tried.
I got doo-doo with my
I
pants.
got
what?
friends on the other side.
All right.
The power of voodoo. Hoodoo? You do.
Yeah, what? Remind me of the
Remind me of
babe.
a bitch.
So I will say this. Check this out.
I like how I just made two very different references, and Josh got one of them, and nobody got the other.
I know that
I mean, like the Princess and the Frog reference?
Hey, there we go. Excellent.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I knew it.
Andrew
I just
got
thought it
one.
was so obvious that
I'm,
everybody got it. I didn't want to call anybody out.
I'm working on my
Appreciate
Gleeman's tricks. So I pulled out my old contact juggling ball. And I'm just going to see if I can just... I am so out
I like
of
how you
practice.
did this the other day, and then you just ended up chucking it across the room. That was my favorite part.
All right, it's another episode of the Black Tower Podcast. Line up, rank and file. Conduct yourselves in an orderly fashion. It is time for your weekly dose of taint. It's time,
Josh,
for
the
taint.
last time, not every W has an H associated with.
I associate my with my and my. But it's the Black Tower Podcast.
That's illegal in 6 countries.
It is a Wheel of Time podcast. That one does have
There
an
you
H.
go. You finally found one.
It's time to taint it up with the boys from the Black Tower. Thank you all for being here as I pour up my own ration of taint, my taint ration, hashtag taint ration. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Josh. I like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain, and I am the Soravan Mahale at the Black Tower.
I'm Andrew. I'm your Bajan Mahale, and you'll notice I have the world's tiniest toe rockin' flying around in my room.
He's cultivating a new breed of toe rockin'.
Yeah, it feels like it sometimes, dude. I swear.
I love how you chose the smallest version of the biggest one. Not just a rockin'. It's the world's tiniest toe rockin'.
Yeah. Well, because there's a couple of these little fuckers in here. Because I forgot to pour boiling water down my fucking kitchen drain just in case.
Oh no!
It's like a southerner thing. Well, it's probably not just a southerner thing, but it's one of those things that you can do.
Yeah.
And some of these fuckers like gotten kind of big. Like you can see them on the wall from across the room. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Well, at least you're moving out soon, so you won't have to deal with somebody that much longer. Indeed.
Ooh.
And I am your Amin Khan Mahale, and I am dealing with no rockin'. Just the fact that
just rolling.
My solar panel that I bought the other day gets 2.5 hours of sun on our balcony, and no moss.
What is it? What'd you get it to charge?
Power banks, basically.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
We're hoping to get a little off the power grid here, so we're trying to go ahead and do that. But as I said, it doesn't get quite the sun that it really probably should to actually get us.
That sounds like a great meme.
Goal
like
zero.
Like just a dude buys one power grid. Yeah, I'm off one solar panel. Yeah, I'm pretty much off the grid.
Pretty much off the grid.
Right.
It's such a great meme.
You could say things are getting pretty serious.
Indeed.
And last but certainly not least, we have an illustrious
I'm not saying
member
I'm Captain Planet,
of
but
the of the friends
But
of the Black Tower podcast. We have our very lovely Sexy Morshadi, who is our fact checker Mahale. He is here to check the facts and just be sexy, and he's killing both right now.
Indeed. Hello, and I think you might need to unmute me on the Discord as well.
What?
Because you
should have the role.
And Andrew took away my rights because I didn't shut myself up on time.
Oh, snap.
No, you should be able to unmute.
You should be able to unmute.
Nope. I just tried it.
Oh, shit.
You do not have permission to speak in this channel.
You do not. You will speak when spoken to.
Well,
try it again now. Wait. Now try it.
Wait. Nope.
Wait.
Now
try it.
Now try it.
Log out. Log it out. Log it out. Log it in. Let me begin.
Log it out.
Yeah, that's.
There it is.
Hey, there we go.
Turned it off.
I am Morshadi, your fact checker Mahale, today's guest extraordinaire. And Daniel, did no one tell you that Sunshine is a mythical beast on the west side of Washington?
No, actually, the sad part is we've gotten a ton of sun in the last 3 days.
I know.
It's just our balcony that is just placed badly.
Yeah,
for this year's sun, because while it is up for like at least 10 hours during the day, our balcony only gets it for 2.5.
Yeah. Trying to get off the grid in Western Washington with an with a solar panel is just silly. There, you need to come to the east side. That's where you can get off the grid.
I don't actually agree with that. My partner and I have discovered many days of sun in Seattle to the point where both of us are like, I know climate change is a thing and we just moved here recently. So like, we can't say we're experts on the weather here in Seattle or anything, but like people who are like, oh, Seattle's always cloudy and no sun.
Did you actually move to Seattle?
Like,
or are you like accidentally like not in Seattle?
No, we're like, if you drop a pin, like if you go to Google Maps and you drop a pin in Seattle,
listen.
You're like, where
hurts.
where Google says your Seattle is, we're like 2 blocks away from there.
Josh, I've been cyber stalking Daniel just like I did you. I'm pretty sure I've got it narrowed down to a 5-block radius.
Am I in Seattle?
Yeah, you are. You're like just west of it, yeah. And
just east. Oh man. Oh. Cyber stalking not paying off. My VPNs. Everybody, get yourself NordVPN and you'll stop cyber stalking.
NordVPN, sponsor of the Black Tower podcast. Anyway, hello. Thank you so much, guys, for having me today.
Get yourself NordVPN and you can look at porn sites when you're in Utah again.
Yeah, that's also true.
Also true. Use a proxy.
So, hey, all right.
Hey, NordVPN, we know you're listening. Don't you want to sponsor us? We're super good at ads. We're super good at marketing for you.
NordVPN, Jeff Bezos.
Well, all Utah's really trying to do is they're trying to get the caliber of acting in porn films to skyrocket. Because then you're watching a regular movie that just happens to have sex scenes and not porn.
Exactly. So like, what we're trying to say is higher London rivers.
That's it.
Wait,
we need
has
London
it been about 30
seconds
seconds since we looked at our lemon tree?
Well, obviously we all know what you're talking about.
Oh man.
So Andrew,
right.
If the people are feeling tired and sluggish and just don't have a lot of get up and go, what should they do about that?
Get up and get the fuck out. Or alternatively, if that's not an option, you should go over to w.gg and get yourself some W Energy Mix.
GG.
W.gg, you can use code BTP as in Black Tower Podcast, and you can get 10% off of your order of not already discounted products. They've got a bunch of flavors. They got a bunch of flavors, and your purchase does help what we do here at the Black Tower Podcast. You can use code BTP or look in the video description or podcast description. There's a link there. But if you're looking for things that are for energy that is jitter-free and isn't going to come with any of that crash, that tastes great and dissolves really well in your shaker cup. And if you don't have a shaker cup, you can get one of W shaker cups, and they have anime girls with double D's, bro.
That's true.
Do it. Get it.
That is a
I
thing.
got 2 of them. One for each titty.
One for each one.
But it's fantastic. Take as directed until you know if you can handle a little more energy. Don't be like Josh. Don't treat it like the world's like weakest pre-workout and do like 3 scoops or whatever. But it's fantastic stuff. I've had the
that was a
what
fun
flavors
night.
have I had? I had the beach one. That was why I was looking at the flavors. I should do that, right?
There's
look, I go there
Life's
so
a
often.
Peach
I just quite
or
yeah.
peach
I've got
or something.
that one.
Blue
I've got
raspberry, Dragonade, Dub Sludge, which was the green apple flavor, which was really good.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got the Dragonade Energy one. I've got the Beach and Peach one, and the other one I got was like a sweet tea flavor that it doesn't like is on their site anymore.
Well, maybe they got rid
I don't
of
see it. Oh wait, no, the Beach and Peach. No, yeah, no, there was a sweet tea one that's not there anymore. Huh. Well, missed out because the Beach and Peach is like a mango white peach cooler, and it is delicious as well. And if you don't know which one you want, they do have a sample packs that you can get, and starter packs. Maybe the samples will come back. They do run out of stock very fast. That just goes to show you how good it is. Everybody keeps coming back and getting more. So go and check them out. Again, code BTP, 10% off. Helps with what we do here.
There it is. All right, and now I forgot to do this earlier.
What pepper am I eating?
Oh, I'll tell you. I forgot to do this earlier, so we're doing this now.
Mm-hmm.
See, we made a mistake by monetizing because people decided to weaponize that.
Do you guys not remember the first time you monetized?
They made us eat spicy
monetized the charity stream?
And I did.
No, they have a tendency to do that every time money's involved with us. It seems.
We're whores. That's why.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, we lost hair that time.
Money in front of,
we didn't.
But that
none of that money
us.
went to us.
That was charity.
That went to a noble cause.
That's true. We work hard for the money. Let's see. So I did the Packy
for
one
half
chip
of the
challenge,
next day.
And that
for half of the next day, my burps tasted like fucking half spoiled relish.
Dude, the Packy one chip challenge was
rough.
It was all pain. There was no flavor. There was no happiness. It was all pain. It was the worst. The absolute worst. Yes, as Leia Roof Mistress in chat says, we'll do stupid shit for money. She is absolutely correct. We will. That is just the
pretty much our motto
of who we are.
That's also my retirement plan. I'm just going to sit on the side of the road with a sign that says, we'll do stupid shit for money.
Perfect.
And then about 2 seconds down the road, I'm going to have somebody else with a sign that says, my name is stupid shit.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, tonight, Daniel, what are we talking about? Oh, actually, we should protect the people. We should. Ashaman protects. Ashaman uses protection. Andrew, would you protect the people, please?
Sure. Here we go.
Welcome to the Black Tower. This is your spoiler condom. If you have not read the complete works of Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time, books 1 to 14, and also New Spring, Big Bad Book of White Arts, and The Companion, you are at risk of being spoiled. Spoilers come with side effects. These side effects may include headache, nausea, vomiting, death, dizziness, vaginal or penile eruptions and ejaculations, dysentery, cardiac arrhythmia, mild heart explosions, varicose veins, darkened stool, darkened souls, more vomiting, arthritis, hemorrhoids or diabetes, virginity, mild discomfort, vampirism or werewolfism, gender inequality for the whole planet, spontaneous dental hydroplosion, sugar highs, even more vomiting, or maybe just a mild rash. If you cannot deal with these side effects, please leave now, for fear of spoilers. You have been
Yeah, I wonder what WebMD page he got that all from, because
Rob did so good.
Yeah,
on
that's
one.
Yeah, the lycanthropy got me, because I didn't know you could get that from spoilers.
The dental hydroplosions gets me.
Okay.
Oh no, it's different. It's werewolfism
or vampirism.
I like entropy, werewolfism, which I imagine is just like a case where a werewolf finishes on you, and then wherever it hits, you start growing a lot of hair, like a really weird fertilizer.
Is that where the "you'll get hairy palms" thing came from?
Wait, so
it could be.
Is that the?
Because you throw up your hands to protect yourself.
All things are based in myth and legend, guys. There's grains of truth there.
No, I don't know. I think we should. I think we should.
Daniel, what are we talking about tonight?
Not that is the answer to the question. I mean, it is entirely possible that we will throw that into the subjects for other days, but we have a thing today. And it's actually a very interesting topic that I would like to discuss. So,
if the gentleman from Washington State would be so kind.
Yes, he's already talking. He has the floor.
Excuse me.
He's the gentleman from Washington.
The non-gentleman, also from Washington State, has yielded his time.
What's the new sound effects I need? I just need the gavel sound, and then just some random voice being like, "The gentleman's time has expired."
Oh my god! Do we need a gavel?
We can use my.
I feel like we need a gavel
desk
for our
lotion
panels
as the gavel.
at WatCon.
Ooh, at WatCon.
Yeah, so come to WatCon. See us. We'll have gavels and shit. There you go. All right, order.
Wouldn't be the first thing
the gentleman from North Carolina has not been recognized.
Joke's on you. People recognize me twice at JordanCon. All right. And then I disappear.
No.
All right. Let's do this. Let's get into the meat.
All right, guys.
Let's get into the meaty meat. The marrow.
Yeah. Today we are talking another metaphysics talk. Last week we did what is channeling and talked about sort of the actual physics of it. And today we're talking about the metaphysics behind things in the Wheel of Time. And today's topic is very, very interesting in terms of how much influence does the wheel actually have? How much agency do humans actually have? And how much of what they do has been planned from the start? It's basically, do you make the stupid decisions that lead you on your own path and sometimes end up being good for people? Or was everything that you've ever done, smart, stupid, or otherwise, set in your path already? And the wheel will change the path that you need to walk based on its own machinations.
So are you cosmically accountable for your actions, or not?
Or
because this is one thing.
Do it?
Yes. So this is part of what I want to talk about here, because this is a thing that actually gets talked about a lot, both in sort of real life, as far as Calvinism in Christianity and other things along that line of predestination, not actually having free will and really just being at the mercy of gods or entities that are more powerful than you, or having your own agency to make decisions, and that is what makes both good and bad things happen in the world. And this is one of the things that has actually talked, or that a lot of people have talked about the Wheel of Time, because, for example, we have characters that are ta'veren. And Robert Jordan is actually relatively clear about the fact that ta'veren are people who are...
ta'veren are people too.
Woven out by... Yes, they are. But they are woven out by the pattern to accomplish things the pattern needs them to get done. But there are other people who do amazing things that influence things the pattern needed done, but aren't technically ta'veren, i.e. the Emmonsfield 5, 3 of which being ta'veren, and 2 of which not being ta'veren. Now,
adjacent.
Interestingly, in this discussion, there are 2 pieces of this that are important. I do want to throw out there that Robert Jordan has actually said in interviews that he should have made Nynaeve and Egwene ta'veren. Now, what that means, as far as why he said that, is still a bit of a mystery. Because that is the line that we have gotten from him, but not a whole thesis on why he should have made them ta'veren and what exactly that would have meant for their stories and, what exactly that changes about their characters. But he has said it. And, importantly, in the TV show, they seem to claim, albeit an unreliable narrator in Moraine, that Egwene at least, and also probably, if not definitively, Nynaeve is also ta'veren. So they basically bridge the gap between the story that we were told and what Robert Jordan said that he probably would have done, or probably should have done in the story. Now, again, whether that means that the TV show is actually getting Robert Jordan's wishes correct by doing with the characters what he wanted to, it is impossible to say.
Yeah.
No idea, and I'm not claiming that they are getting the story more correct because of this thing, but they are doing what Robert Jordan said he probably should have done by making them ta'veren. So, let's talk a little bit about ta'veren first, because I think this is the crux of the talk. Now, we can go into other stuff, and I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff going on. I want to first ask our panel, in the books, they are very clear that there are 2 general possibilities of what ta'veren means. It is either someone who is so powerful at changing the pattern that their decisions change other threads around them when that's not really supposed to be true. And therefore, they actually have a shit ton of agency because they are actually making decisions for more people than just themselves. They are making decisions for the pattern. The other school of thought is that ta'veren are actually completely lacking in agency because the pattern pushes them to make all of their decisions, and they don't actually do anything themselves. They are forced down a path by the pattern that wove them out in the first place. So, we'll start with Morshadi because he's our guest, and I think he probably has a lot of thoughts about this.
He's already started in the chat.
What are your thoughts?
With his actually.
What are your thoughts about ta'veren and their meaning for this particular sort of predestination or agency or whatever conversation?
Get into a thing. ta'veren are nothing more than a tool that the pattern uses to course correct an ultimate or standard plan. The pattern isn't sentient in any way, as is what I just posted. But there is a natural balance to the entire weave where it is supposed to be. And that's what Taviran are supposed to do. It's supposed to course correct. The dragon is a massive Taviran that's supposed to course correct against the Dark One escaping, because that happens every single cycle. The other Taviran around him are supposed to go and help that. The natural function of a Taviran essentially is to just, as we've seen in the books, is to drag along everything around them to pull on those threads. Whether or not they have that agency, what they're doing is creating massive if-then statements, essentially. If they are going to do this, what they are then going out, what they're doing is then rippling out to the rest of the pattern, rest of the world. And so they could just do nothing, but we've seen what happens when they do nothing. The things ripple out from them to then force them to do something. What ended up happening? We saw that with Perrin. We saw it with Rand. Just for example, we saw it with Rand in The Great Hunt. He did nothing.
We saw that
for how long? And then he got more and more and more invitations. Why? Because the pattern required that he needed to get up to these levels, because it required the city to be devastated in terms of the government, to be weak for later on. A strong Kirhen would not have fallen, most likely, as easily. But it was necessary for the pattern to be...
Sure.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I know. Here, you're going to hate the last one I make.
Those are a lot of intense statements that I do not agree with in any way, shape, or form. But continue.
The pattern will throw out as many Taviran as necessary. As
for me and what I think,
everything as balanced as possible. Here is the last statement I'm going to give you that may throw you into a loop. If the dragon had died, for whatever reason, the last battle would still have continued, and a massive amount of Taviran would have emerged. Just to course correct and to still win. The seal might have happened still. It may not have been perfect, and would have continued on to the next stage until the dragon could be reborn to correct the seal. But
okay.
So, so in this question, I actually have a couple of questions, because I just want to just clarifying questions to make sure that I understand and everybody else understands. So I'm curious, when someone says what the pattern needs and the pattern does it, mostly what I've heard is basically what you're saying, as far as the pattern is on a particular trajectory. And so to achieve that trajectory, it goes ahead and shoots out Taviran and things that it needed, or that it needs. So you are effectively agreeing with that the pattern is not sentient, but at the same time, in the
it does.
In the desire to course correct towards a particular course, it does need to do something.
Well, think about it like this, though. We've got a wheel, we've got a loom, and we've got a pattern. Who's the weaver? The weaver is the creator. So the creator
That's an argument that people have about whether the creator is even there at all,
there is that, but I'm just saying there has to be a weaver that is observing the pattern and the way it's turning out. And the only person I could think who would be a valid weaver for the pattern of ages would be the creator, especially in the situation in which this entity would be actively fighting against the Dark One. Because the pattern it's just the pattern. It's a written record. Like, that's it. But who is in charge of weaving those threads? Now, you can say that each thread being woven into the pattern is woven by their own agency. So you've got the different threads going in there. Cool. But then you've got a Taviran that pops out. And as Daniel said, you've got sort of a Taviran sandwich. You've got the active influence upon the pattern around them. Or you have a passive influence in which I don't know what I need to do, so I'm going to go do that thing. And the pattern goes, no, the fuck you're not. And so it kind of gets a little fucky when we start talking about these kinds of things. But I feel like there has to be another entity involved here, which I will hitherto refer to as the weaver of the pattern. Sure. And just like the fates in Greek mythology, they don't necessarily control the thread of a life, but they do choose when that thread is ended.
Well,
and the
fuck you, Josh. I was gonna make
well, so here's a new question. I want to get into Josh's thoughts in just a moment, and this is probably a good place to go in there. But here is the question. Now for Josh, I'm going to ask you for the moment. Anyone else can answer this later when they're sort of talking about there. Do the fates decide when the thread gets cut? Or do the fates cut the thread when it's supposed to be cut? Do you see the distinction there?
That's kind of I view that as a circular question. Did you do this because you need to do this, or did it need to be done?
Think
and so
about
you
it,
did
like
it?
the
It's
pattern and the creator is a hard one. Because
oh my gosh, it's almost like Taviran.
For the longest time, the creator has absolutely he's kind of hands off, right? Doesn't take a direct interaction except for the 2 times he did. Like, but I see it. I see the pattern. Mm-hmm. If you look at it as the weave and that thread as taking the.
It was 2 times,
kind of
man.
Like how water falls into the lowest point and always follows that easiest path. It's always going to want to follow into this balance, and it's always going to course correct into that balance. And it uses Taviran as that course correction to get back into that balance. Because what is this entire series about? Balance. Even the Dark One is part of that balance.
Well, so my question for you now, actually,
no,
I will wait on questions later. That is a relatively good summation of your thoughts, as far as I can tell.
No, go ahead.
Morshadi. Great. Is there anything else that you wanted to go ahead and say in answer to that question, or is that a good stopping point? Fantastic. Josh, you started talking a little bit about seemingly your thoughts on this in some ways, and then I, had to ask a question because it's my want to do. But go ahead and give us your thoughts as far as this whole thing is concerned. Just take it away. Take it away with your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I will say, I want to make sure we're being very, very clear here. This is not the age-old discussion of destiny, right? Is it destiny? Was it fated to be? This is not that discussion. This is very specifically.
Who says?
Taviran. Okay. I just want to recap this piece in the books because I feel like it kind of encompasses what we're talking about. Perrin is marching through the mountains,
actually.
marching. I can't remember where he's going. I can't remember what book it is, but he meets up with Varen, and Varen is like, "Aha! So you're the son of a bitch that's kept me trapped here in this village for the last month." And Perrin's like, whoa, easy, lady. I literally, Matt.
It's Matt, yeah.
Matt's like, easy, lady.
But yes.
I just rolled into town. Like, for real, you need to chill. And she's like, oh, no. This is you 100%. And he's like, how the hell can I keep you here when I'm not even here? Didn't even know I was coming here. And she just gives him that, like, wry, Varen twinkle of a smile and is like, well, you're Taviran, aren't you? And then proceeds to explain how literally every single time she tries to leave
you're Taviran, ain't you?
You're Taviran, ain't you? Every time she tries to leave that city or village or whatever it is, something happens. To include, like, the inn she's staying at, like, burning down. And she can't ever stay in one place long enough to learn the area in order to travel away. So she finally gets to the point where she goes, okay, I can see the actual, metaphorical writing on the wall here. I'm not going anywhere. And when she made the decision to stay until she could see what the pattern wove for her, she was able to be like, oh, there's a Taviran, and it's Matt. And Matt, of course, is abhorred by this. But I feel like this is a good thing, because in this particular situation, Varen, in essence, didn't have the free will or the agency to leave this village. She was, in essence, trapped there until Matt arrived to fulfill the action that needed to happen. Another great example of this is Doctor Who kind of covers this, where they say that these are like solid moments in time. They must happen, otherwise time itself unravels. And he who comes with the wine is in the chat right now going, so destiny. And I'm not angry at it. It happens, but how far does that destiny go? Is it a point in time that needs to happen in a certain way? Or is it a long string of choices? Is it a long string of... Did the pattern prevent Varen from leaving so that she could talk to Matt? Or did the pattern prevent Varen from leaving because Varen needed to... Could that meeting have happened elsewhere, or did it need to happen there at that time? Which I believe is the crux of where we're trying to get to.
My clarifying question here is, how much coincidence is acceptable? And how much do other people's choices actually come into play? Because we know that Taviran that they do mess with things. They absolutely mess with things. There will be a baby that falls out of a building 8 stories up and lands on the ground and has no visible damage on them at all and survives the fall. And then a 30-year-old super
that's not
hale
messing
man
with things.
will walk
that's not messing
down
with
the street,
that is
trip over a rock,
it's not
land
messing with things. That is
and break his neck.
Improbable percentage of it happening.
That's messing with things.
Like Matt Stites.
Well, but again, it's messing with things, because the probable thing is that happens 1 in every billion times because he's
would
occur,
pulling on those, and it's rippling
and
out.
then in a town it happens 5 times while Rand's there.
Well, because
like, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying
he's amplifying he's amplifying probability
with things.
Andrew, smear us.
It doesn't necessarily mess with anything, because something is improbable doesn't mean it's impossible.
Smear this bagel.
Sure.
Smear this bagel.
Messed with, it implies it's being being cheated.
The probability is being manipulated.
It's bending.
So it's being messed
but the rules are still being played. Played as is.
I'm trying to think of the right way to explain this, because
the verbiage matters.
Change things that aren't written in stone that we can't or can't happen. Yeah.
Okay. Now semantics.
I mean, you could say like messing with things, and that sticks with like if you want to go with the broad definition of something else had an effect on something else, then yeah.
Well, that now we're getting into
because something had to affect
causality, a cause and effect type.
Wait, I thought we were talking about werewolf.
But no, to what I think I can remember of the original question. Not that original question. No, I agree with Morshadi.
Too far back.
I agree with Morshadi. And I think the last time where we started to talk about this and we thought about it, this being an episode, I mentioned it then that while they're Taviran, they have no agency. They don't, because I remember that was an express reason why I liked that Egwene and Nynaeve were not themselves inherent Taviran, because it leaves their accomplishments to their own. It doesn't mean that every accomplishment by Rand, Mat, and Perrin isn't theirs, but the distinction then has to come from when are they actively Taviran and when are they not Taviran. Because being Taviran ebbs and flows.
I'm not going to say what I was just going to say.
So if the pattern isn't actively working on Rand, Mat, or Perrin at the time they do something, then that is 100% absolutely their unique and individual accomplishment. But if it is happening during an instance in which they are Taviran, it is their Taviran nature that is propelling this to happen, they don't have that individual control and agency. Because whether the pattern is forcing their specific thread or forcing the threads around them like a gravity well, pushing them in one direction or another, you're not making your own decisions.
So do you think there's like some like Zen dude, like some like, I don't know, some Zen guy who's just like Master Oogway, right? And he's like just doing his Tai Chi Zen minutions, and he's like, oh, I'm Taviran. Pattern, what do you have? Oh, okay, I'm going over there. And like just doesn't even
Josh,
question it. It's just like the pattern.
I'm one with the pattern.
I'm one with the pattern, and the pattern is with me.
The pattern is with me.
That's what the
and I'm sure there are incredible examples where that works out well, and like deadbeat examples
like Codman, like I am Taviran, look at me. What?
Yeah, but I mean,
well, that's what they tried to be, but
yeah. But I mean, so I think of it in the same way.
I'm so the odd man out here, but
well, I think of it in two ways. So the Taviran I think of almost like gravity wells, or just objects that have really just gravity waves with varying densities. It doesn't make physical sense in our world, but it's the only way I can try to think of to in more scientific terms explain something inherently not scientific. As far as we understand, it could just be that advanced where we think it's magic and it's not. Anyway, that like Morshadi was talking about earlier, the effects of Taviran ripples out throughout the rest of the pattern. And the closer in proximity you are, just like the closer you're in proximity to a celestial body with higher density, the more gravity it has, the more impact it's going to have on you. That's why we're able to take satellites and give them gravity assist when they're going past certain planets so that they can turn without using as much of the propulsion fuel or whatever happens to be on them whenever we're sending them into deep space or wherever. So I think of the Taviran a lot like that, just with like essentially variable densities, so therefore variable gravity. That can always be reduced to none, or it could be increased to be the strongest gravitational body in existence, essentially like a black hole of affecting the rest of the pattern. But as for the overall pattern construction itself, I think of it like a computer program with parameters, and its main directive is survive. Okay. And so it's got these certain parameters that help it identify when things are going too wrong or when things are going too right. And as part of its correcting program, when I say things are going too right, like the side that's pushing for good and a total elimination of evil is doing too well. Because for continuity and for a truly conscious livelihood, you need evil and you need good. You
as
can't have
Rand
pure
learned
one
in
or
the
the
final
other.
battle. Yes,
One cannot exist without the other. Yeah. So you have this kind of program that's acting on the world, and this is what's going to be identifying when ta'veren are needed and how strong are the ta'veren needed and where are they most optimally placed and when is it best to surge their ta'verenness and when is it best to let it wane off or get rid of it entirely. And to that effect, if the pattern's ultimate goal is survival, and survival generally indicates balance for the pattern to continue its mainstay existence from the moment of creation, then no, it makes I think it would make total sense and be a fair logical conclusion to if the dragon as this kind of ultimate antivirus or whatever, this ultimate like algorithm to restore everything to a status quo or whatever, to a balance, that the pattern would just instead set out a bunch more worker bees to do what the dragon can't if he dies. I think that's fair.
Well, so now I have a couple of follow-up questions on that because I think these are kind of important, and this goes back to Morshadi's initial postulation and Andrew bringing it back up. Can ta'veren be, if you are not a ta'veren when you are born, can you be a ta'veren later because it's just a situation of just because you showed no signs of being a ta'veren doesn't mean it can't flow back into you or flow into you in general, even if it's just been in an ebbed state your entire life? Or are there actually, or would the pattern actually take longer to pull out more ta'veren because you need to be born
Robert Jordan,
a ta'veren?
and I actually posted this. Robert Jordan specifically said no one is
like
born a ta'veren.
Sorry, let me restate this question. Are you born a ta'veren or not born a ta'veren? Question for you.
You are ta'veren when the pattern needs you to be ta'veren, which call back to what you were saying earlier, Morshadi. I see
so
connect the dots line of logic that you were going there, and I'm not angry at it.
So what you're saying is that basically all of the ta'verenness that was centered in the dragon would be rippled out to everybody else, and each or a lot of other people would have a lower ta'veren nature.
The number
that would push to the last battle to replace the ta'verenness that was lost with the dragon if he died.
If for whatever reason Rand dies, he is no longer there. Obviously, no one can be reborn as immediately as an adult. The pattern would need a massive course correction, right? Massive course correction. The only way you can do that is those pieces that are already on the board. Well, like Tam, ta'veren, Lan, ta'veren, Egwene, ta'veren, Nynaeve, ta'veren, massive little ta'verens, Oliver, ta'veren. Like, because what they're doing is so massively important that everyone has to win right at this moment. They would, yeah.
Okay, so now I have a new question, because this is actually very important.
Yes.
In the books, it very much clearly states that Rand, Mat, and Perrin are ta'veren. That Arthur Hawkwing was a ta'veren.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because there
are a number of other people who you actually just mentioned there that do incredible things.
Again,
are you saying
like I said
that
like
it
I
is
said,
because so you're actually saying that it's because they are around ta'veren that they do those things?
They have been,
not because they're actually doing them.
While they're in that sphere of influence, yes, there are.
So they also lack agency because
well, like Varen did when Mat was approaching the village.
Which is why
they may still have some agency, but it'd be like limited. It could be anywhere from
shit at the end.
Almost no
because
agency
he fulfilled
to
exactly
almost
what
no
he
agency,
needed to do at the
depending
end.
on the proximity of the pool.
Because Egwene needed to suffer that at the end to be able to do what she needed to. Like at the end, the last battle needed to happen exactly what needed to happen.
Yeah. God, yeah.
Okay, so basically what you're saying now is that Gawain was needed by Egwene, who was needed by the dragon.
ta'veren adjacent.
And so the dragon made Egwene do a thing after it made Gawain
the pattern by virtue of being influenced by ta'veren.
Okay, so it didn't do that.
I would say
actually, I would think that by the last battle,
because he's outside of the pattern. His consciousness is outside the pattern. His body,
ta'veren nature he had,
he's
no
outside
longer
the pattern.
Play.
It is.
Yeah, so I think but that's not to say that but that's not to say that like the previous impacts, because the thing is, again, think of a gravity assist for like these satellites that like we send out, these telescopes. Once they go past the gravitational pull of, let's say they're turning by Jupiter, because when at Jupiter, make a slight left turn. They continue straight on that trajectory until enacted upon by another force. So there's nothing to say that the impact that ran as the big ta'veren doesn't put Egwene potentially on a course to be Amerlin. And let's say that after she becomes Amerlin, that Rand's ta'veren nature no longer affects her. The Amerlin seat would still be on a direct trajectory for conflict at the last battle. And there's nothing to say that trajectory doesn't continue on to
her
facing Tyne and repairing the entirety of the pattern from Balefire.
Her choices and every other person who's not ta'veren, her choices within the spheres of influence.
So new question, because I actually think this
are their own choices.
Go for it.
And if Egwene had decided, you know what, I'm just going to decide to go fuck off with Galad and Gawain and just to be in a polyandry relationship, she probably could have chosen that.
These are just
at a
choices.
Certain point.
This is a choice.
Because the pattern would have been like, okay, well, you know, something else will fold in.
Just a choice.
And it will go in. Just like when someone is Balefire and that thread burns. The pattern's going to readjust and reintegrate at a certain point. But at a certain point, it's too late. Her own sphere of influence in the pattern is too big.
So
because now her thread in the pattern is influencing others. Her weave is also weaving other people.
Too late.
Okay, so now I think this is actually a really important question. Are we actually sure that Perrin and Matt are ta'veren?
Because Robert Jordan said
only by
they are actually ta'veren.
because
not
Robert Jordan said
confirmed.
How can you tell?
I would be absolutely fine. I would be absolutely fine if it came out that only.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I would be absolutely fine if it came out that Rand was the only ta'veren. That would be great.
I would hate that.
No, but think about this. We just determined that Gawain does something because the pattern needs Gawain to do something so that Egwene does something so that it can help the dragon, right? Is that a force actually pushing on Gawain? Or is that a force being pushed on Egwene and then affecting Gawain? Because if Matt and Perrin are actually ta'veren, then presumably they would be able to say, hey, dragon, go fuck yourself. I can go do whatever I want. But instead, they are actually the two who are the most pulled into Rand's sphere. And therefore, they have some of the least agency as far as Rand is concerned. So are they actually ta'veren? or is Rand the only Ta'veren
if I may,
in the entire fucking story?
Hold on,
and
Josh,
everybody else just looks like Ta'veren because
Well,
they're
no, okay,
closer
no,
and
you
closer to
got
Rand.
you got something very interesting that I want to cover.
No. Let Josh answer. No, let Josh answer. You got to answer last time, Morshadi.
But
yeah,
Swan,
chill.
Sanjay, and I think
Josh.
Swan, but Logain. There are other people who have the ability to see Ta'veren, which is what just sparked my mind. So,
yeah, who told them that?
Do we have? No. Do we
who
have?
Told them that? Who fucking told them that?
Do
Josh?
we have instances in the books where X person sees the Ta'veren other than Rand? Because off the top of my head, the only one I can see right now, I can think of two examples. One, Logain looking at Rand and being like, which I believe is what they were trying to do in the TV show when Logain saw Nynaeve. Because when Logain sees Rand, he sees like a blazing sun up on the wall.
The shooting beacon.
And then when he sees Nynaeve in the show, he like a blazing sun, yada yada. But the only other thing we get is when Min sees them all and says, "You're all a part of it."
All of them.
But in there,
we have one
included Moraine and Lan and Tom. They're all part of it, but they're not all Ta'veren.
So in Faldara, Suan does have the talent of being able to see Ta'veren. And she not only meets with Rand, that's the meeting we see on paper. She also meets with Matt and Perrin. And in between her meeting Matt and Perrin, or either after Rand, her and Moraine talk about how all three of them are strong Ta'veren.
So confirmation.
So it's not on paper, but if you don't believe it's real, then you also believe Min is a sexy lamp, and you can exit stage fuck off of the podcast. All right.
Now, are they Ta'veren because they're Ta'veren, or are they Ta'veren because Rand needs them to be Ta'veren?
That's where you're going? That's what I'm saying. This is literally where I'm going. So literally, this is the question that I have. So what actually classifies a Ta'veren? Because if what you're saying is that a Ta'veren is anyone who does something at a time for the pattern to course correct, then there are way more fucking Ta'veren in the story than just Matt Perrin and Rand.
How many of them do it without ever being near Rand, Matt, or Perrin, or someone who was near to them? This is my thinking again, when I mention like the gravitational waves
geographically.
Well, no, because it does. Because if you're having a rippling effect throughout the rest of the pattern, even if you yourself are not a Ta'veren of sufficient proximity at some point can still. It only takes the slightest pull on your thread to make you go to Saldea instead of going to the
butterfly
country to the right that I can't remember right now.
Sure.
Yeah, to go to another section of the borderlands, So in some ways, it may only need to be the like shooting long range. If you've ever shot long range in a scope, aim small, miss small comes because all you do is you move a fraction of a millimeter here, and it lands 5 feet to the right.
Or if the wind kicks up just the right amount during the flight of your ammo, like it's annoying.
Yeah. So who's to say that the first meeting between Rand and Almond Bunt isn't the pull of his Ta'veren that directs him to be there again when he meets Rand again? And I very much like Morshadi's comparison because it's political, it's intrigue, it's militaristic, and I never thought about it with Kyrian, and I fucking love you for it. I love the idea that all that had to happen with Rand to weaken Kyrian politically to be vulnerable for invasion later.
And it also,
I love it.
It also
that should be a whole nother fucking
Rand's Ta'veren nature.
It also speaks to how fucking smart Morshadi is.
Goddamn sexy.
Morshadi? You had a thing to
Did you see
say,
that?
and you were very, very,
sorry.
very
Morshadi is
emphatic
as
on
sexy
you
mentally
saying it.
You
as
read
he
it
is
in
because
phrase.
it's something I read on
That's not what I
Theoryland.
say.
But now I can't find it because I lost the page because
Are
I've been
you
trying
still
to
ready with it, or
pull
have
up a
we
bunch of other
fucked
things.
your
But
thought
they asked
entirely?
why there was actually 3 Taviran in
Excellent.
the 2 rivers and why 3 were needed because Rand is so powerful. And it was because the pattern needed to hide Rand.
Oh shit! He who comes with the wine just
So,
dropped some knowledge.
They were
too.
initially
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember either overhearing a discussion or reading
Nicola-
it somewhere where that was the thought that there were so many in the same spot because that's how they help cloak, how the creator or the pattern helped cloak Rand from being found immediately by the Dark One. Because that was
that's
like one
an
of the big questions, like,
interesting
oh, you can intercept souls and put them in new bodies, but you can't find one dude born. Like, are you serious?
Ooh.
Well, so I feel like that's actually a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it?
What'd you
Because
call
if
me?
Taviran nature can ebb and flow, and Rand has basically been dormant this entire time,
Oh yeah.
then why
Yeah.
why
Not
would the
Taviran at
Dark
all.
One be
Can I
able
bring
to
up
go
Yeah,
ahead
'cause
and find him?
according
Why
to
would
the-
there
the-
need to be 2
'cause-
other Taviran to
Because the
like?
story's not
I mean,
about
I feel like
Rand.
3
according
Taviran
to
that
the
are
answer
all
from our-
flowing.
because
I swear,
Yeah,
if you're
go for
going to quote a tweet and say the story was
'Cause that
about
first
them all,
book
I'm going
is
to punch
full
you in
of
the
a
dick
lot of
when I
shit
say
That's
that
it.
never
exactly
comes
what he
up
was
again.
going to tweet or quote.
The real
Like,
treasure
Straight from
was
the
the
tip. I'm
friends
going
we
to
made
douche you
along
by
the
No,
like
that's
half
way.
an inch.
Yeah, even RJ himself. It's just
Nerd.
there's a lot of shit. Honestly, the first 3
Kinda.
Well, no,
But
RJ
go
himself
for it.
even
a couple
said
of things. And it's
there's a
so
lot
That's a lot of
in-
it.
You mean like Tom's
there's a lot in the Eye of the
bells?
World that just kind of went.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, honestly, again, when you find out about the writing of the first 3 books, the fact that the first one needed to be a one shot coherent story, and then the first 3, adding the second and third, also needed to be a coherent one shot story or a
So it
coherent
was-
one shot trilogy. You now
was-
it now
yeah.
makes a lot of sense of RJ leaving a lot on the writing room floor.
It was a
of
DM.
And if-
wanting to think about these things, but then actually getting his coherent.
And if you don't believe
100%
us,
set out story for after the third one. Into the
was
fourth
a
one is when
DM.
you
Shit.
really
and if you don't
start to
believe us,
get-
just pay attention to how the
RJ's
writing
story.
is in the first 3 books.
It was a
and how the
DM
writing
that
is in
did
the
2
fourth
one
book.
shots.
You're a
The
dark
party
vastly
loved them, and he
different.
didn't expect it. It was like, fuck, I got to make a whole story. All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, 2 things with that.
And then also,
And then look
There
at
was
how
a
the
fourth
writing
one
goes in
here,
the first 6
Nicholas
books, and then how it goes in the
2
next
things
6.
with that.
Because that was the backup plan after it being one shots was, well, it'll only be 6 books, and then it was, not.
Bella. There
Well,
was
I'll say
a
the
fifth-
No,
last
there was a
six,
fourth
it was Bella.
Taviran, and it was Will
Oh
Alstein.
no, but 2
okay.
things with that. First off, as
I
we
thought his name was
we've got
D,
He Who Comes
like
with
Dan
the
or
Wine
something.
in our chat, which if you want to be a part of our live chat, you gotta join our Patreon. It's like not even $1 a month if you sign up for the annual plan. So I'm just saying, just throwing that out there.
That's true.
But
1080 for the whole year.
He Who Comes with the Wine pointed out that Rand needed to be Taviran from the beginning in order to fulfill the prophecies. That means it would have been impossible for Rand to fulfill the duties he needed to fulfill to save the world had he not been Taviran.
Well, here's the fucky wucky of it, right?
You have this
There's
scenario in
the
which
soul,
I lost it.
and then there's Taviran,
Shit, I was there.
right? Because the soul is the dragon reborn, and the dragon is always reborn.
I remember. But go ahead.
But he's not reborn as a Taviran. He wasn't needing to be a Taviran until he was 19 and a stupid boy.
Necessarily. Because Taviran ebbs and flows. And I remember what I was going to say. I have a friend who she's going through it for the first time. She's in book 2. And she's like, oh my God, Rand is protected by so much plot armor. And I about lost my shit laughing because I was like, no, like, here's the thing. Robert Jordan?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, Rand did not. Rand did not have to be
Yes, he
Taviran.
did.
The theory is that Gitara was ta'veren. And without Gitara, Tigraine would have never gone to the waste and
listen,
then given birth to the dragon.
Listen. A lot of
Gitara, Moraine would have
ancestry,
also never gone
if you
to
read
the
it
two
as well,
rivers.
look through the eyes of his
Damn.
ancestry. And I'm not joking.
But
If you look through the eyes of the ale ancestry that he goes through, you can kind of see a couple of his ancestors are kind of ta'veren, little minor ones. John Dewin was gathering all of the ale clans.
Listen,
that no one could have
done
in
great,
centuries.
fantastic, the best medieval
and he had like
line
other
of
ancestors
ta'veren.
that like were able
There's
to
no
like,
greater ta'veren.
gather all these people and move them around. Like if you read it in such a in it from a certain point of view, you can go,
Oh, stop it.
Okay.
I mean, this would answer, because, like, again, like the thing Morshadi posted, the answer. You just got fame. But RJ's answer was that no one is born ta'veren.
Mm-hmm.
And you could there is kind of like the loophole argument you could make that maybe Rand was before birth, but I think the Gitara potentially being some degree of ta'veren may fit in a little bit easier. I'm not going to say better, but fits a little easier because it's those little nudges that have long-lasting impacts. Because imagine what would happen to the story if Tigraine never went to the waste. Oh yeah, somebody else would have had the dragon, not her.
Well,
what if Moraine never went to the two rivers?
Yeah.
Well, somebody else would have probably found him, and he would have made his way.
So, new question. And I think this is kind of an interesting and important one as far as this whole discussion is concerned. Can the based on what we've talked about of all of this, can the dragon then, being the thread in the pattern that is the most course correcting, is the dark one actually correct? And the dragon can actually be turned? Or is that a given that we have, and again, I am not necessarily even saying I completely agree with this, because I really don't. I actually am on the other side of this a lot. But if it's the pattern course correcting, and there is a point where people cannot undo their programming by what the pattern needs them to do, is there a point where Rand can no longer turn to the dark, because that would actually throw everything out of whack so hard that the pattern cannot let it happen? Because if Egwene passes a point of no return where she can't leave with Gawain and Galad, and she's not actually even a ta'veren, she's just being affected by one, is there a point where the actual ta'veren affecting them cannot make that decision as well?
I'm sure every philosophy major and professor are gonna like just totally get off at this episode, because this is literally the central of philosophy class. My ex-wife's father is or was a philosophy professor at Valdosta State University. I don't know. He probably still is. I don't know. But he used to talk about this kind of shit all the time. And that is the power of your choices. Some choices you make don't matter. Do I eat Apple Jacks for breakfast, or do I skip breakfast? Seemingly does not matter in the moment. But what happens is that decision has a teeny tiny percentage of an effect on the next decision that you make. And then those effects will begin to stack, right? They begin to increase. They begin to multiply. Because I didn't have breakfast this morning, so I was a little bit grumpy. So I was much more likely to be a bit more of a dick. And by the end of the day, I'm going, oh my God, it was such a bad day. And it was this and this and this and this that happened. Was it? maybe it was. And at any given time throughout my day, I could have stopped, removed myself from the situation, and made an attempt to correct the problem that was caused by a seemingly unthreatening, unimportant decision, which was whether or not to have breakfast that morning. Now, Taviran, and Andrew kind of hit this earlier, where he was talking about, or Daniel and Andrew both kind of hit this earlier, where he was talking about, you can have a baby drop from 8 stories down and survive. Is that impossible? No, it's not impossible. It's highly improbable. But when a Taviran is in the mix, when a Taviran is influencing the outcome of that situation, the stats and the percentages and the chances of this happening go out of whack. They get all kinds of fucky. Things happen, all kinds of weird. And it's in this particular case, with this particular example, when Rand is running and not doing shit, it's the pattern getting all kinds of fucky and weird around him because he's actively going against what he quote unquote needs to be doing. And so the pattern is going to these extreme measures to find balance around the most influential character. So I would say that a Taviran is independent of the pattern, and the pattern will correct around the Taviran until the Taviran person begins doing what they are supposed to do. Because later on in the story, when Rand is doing what he's supposed to be doing, you don't have 100 weddings happening in a single day. You don't have a dude walking down the street and tripping over a rock and breaking his neck and dying. Because the pattern, because all is well in the pattern. All is well. Things are going the way they should be going. But when Rand, which I'm actually going to say this right now, hot take, Rand actually does have agency. It's just that
that's the decisions not a hot take. That's my take all the time.
The decision he makes will either make things easier or more difficult for him. And the same can be said in real life. If we make smart decisions, even if it's not the easy thing in the moment, even if it's the hard thing, if I make the decision to study for my test, if I make the decision to be honest when I know I fucked up, yeah, those are hard decisions. But in the long run, the consequences of those actions will be much better for me if I make correct decisions. And I feel like Taviran, and I'm actually going to reverse my statement on this, because I feel like, Daniel, I'm kind of jumping in your corner right now, because I feel like Taviran do have agency. The difference is that the consequences for those actions are extremely more impactful upon the world around them. This is
I just want to throw in. Oh, go ahead.
Do you think, because once Rand has his come to the dragon moment on Dragon Mountain,
bitch, that's huge. Come to the dragon moment.
He literally walks into food storehouses after that, where people say all the grain is spoiled, and he pulls it out and it's not. Do you think that is the pattern balancing itself?
The pattern
with him, because he resisted and pushed against it for so long, that now that he accepts it, the pattern says, okay, I can kind of go with you and work in your favor.
Yes.
And thus the Taviran ability to manipulate probability comes into play.
Because you make bad decisions and the consequences are more dire. You make good decisions. My statement that the consequences, because again, consequences can be negative or positive. If I study for my test, the consequence of that action is that I got an A on my test. You can have good consequences. So when Rand is operating as the Dragon Reborn, as the creator's champion, the consequences of those actions have a higher positive impact than, say, another person who is walking in the light or being a good person.
Well, I mean,
because they're not Taviran. A Taviran is essentially an amplifier of consequence.
I mean, so I asked that the way I did because if being Taviran ultimately comes down to whether intentionally or unintentionally being able to manipulate probability, it is literally the most powerful power you can have. What are the chances that I put my hand in a bag of all spoiled grain and come out with good grain? Yeah. Normally 0%.
Yeah.
Well, my Taviran nature allows me to manipulate probability. That's now 100%.
Yep.
So we're getting into some Schrodinger's.
Well, I mean, no, it's more of like a superpower kind of concept. And people are like, "Oh, what superpower do you want?" Like the best cop out answer is
probability.
The ability to manipulate probability, because then
True.
you can make literally anything happen. What's the chances that I jump off this building and fly? Oh, it was 0. I'm going to make that 100%.
And
well, and that's the question.
Dropped it straight domino.
Well, and that's a little bit of the question of if the probability is 0, can you change it to 100%? If there's nothing to work with there, can you actually manipulate that probability? Because that's the thing about Rand is if you walk into an entirely spoiled silo of grain and there is no good grain in that silo, and you stick your hand into a bag, and the probability of you pulling out bad grain is 100%.
Well, and that's the thing is that I was gonna say.
How do you manipulate that probability?
One of the things that I didn't like
There's nothing
about that
to manipulate.
Is because
you make it 100%.
Like him coming off the mountain and making the apples sprout from the tree, right? That is a probability, and just pushing down the pattern to make them grow, right? Him putting a hand in and spoiled grain and pulling it out, that's very water to wine. Like that's an impossibility. Like you have to, there is a process to make wine. You just don't change it from water to wine. And that was like the one thing I was like, it's cool. It's very cool. But it was like, no. Yeah.
So I will say this.
Yeah, I will say that that's the one cop out.
They looked at a bit of grain. Everything that they saw was spoiled. It wasn't actually all spoiled. And Ram was
I meant this from a writing standpoint. I didn't like it.
But also, like, you've got the
character
pattern.
standpoint.
Like,
that's
he
really
needs
cool.
more people to believe in him and who he is to come to his side.
There you go.
So the pattern's gonna bend and work with him.
Well, it's also
no, I agree, but
it's also an interesting thing because, of course, even if you have that situation where if they look at the storehouse and the inventory person is like, bruh, I just checked 12 out of our 15 sacks of grain, and 12 out of the 15 sacks were bad. And then Rand walks in and goes, oh, you haven't checked this one yet? And pulls out good grain. They're like, yeah, that means we have
and then all of a sudden all of them are
grain
good.
Because
at
best.
That point,
like,
what he's saying is
the other thing, you just
the other
luck of the draw grabbed one of the ones that hadn't gone bad yet.
Which means that, like, they've now
but you don't know that he didn't change anything. We don't know that he did. We don't know that he didn't.
And breaking the one other mechanic that he said, there's no time travel except for the whole balefire thing, right? Where it's actually just moving back some things because of the thread. Like, okay, well, we know that the sack of grains have already been destroyed. Now, are you saying that you've time traveled the grain to be good now because, like, you've pushed that back? Like, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So my thinking on that, like specifically, because we're using examples from post Revelation Rand, when Rand becomes Bodhisattva.
The dragon is of the land.
In tune with the pattern. He is one with the pattern.
And the pattern
is one with the pattern, and the pattern is with him. He comes down from the mountain, and immediately apples start sprouting on the trees. Now,
It just goes to show you, if you're not confident in who you are, shake your fist at the sky hard enough and loud enough, and suddenly you'll be fine.
I want to kind of hit on what Andrew was saying. We're talking about as a superpower, being able to manipulate probability. I don't think, excuse me, hiccup. I don't think
that's how you know he's about to tell an untruth.
Rand could manipulate probability. But I think this is exactly the same kind of scenario that Matt had when he first learned of how his Taviran ability manifests, which is I flip a coin and it lands on its edge. I flip a coin and it lands heads when I want it to. I flip a coin and it lands tails when I want it to. These are the Aes Sedai that are using the Tir-Ongrial.
Yes.
And then Matt, when he learns about this and he begins throwing dice, he goes, I really, really need to win right now, but I don't need to win that much. Oh, look, I got a winning roll, but it's not a great winning roll. But prior to that, he can throw 5 crowns repeatedly, or he can throw the Dark One's eyes repeatedly. He has the ability to say, this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what I have to have.
That's not my rating.
And those kinds of things happen.
To me, he surrenders control. Because remember, when he's walking around trying to find the right end deliberately, he fails every time.
So it's not
when he surrenders and says, fuck it, I'll just go.
You're pointing at Andrew dice. Like he just made your point for you, but I don't know about that shit. Like
I'm pointing at the viewer.
He stops playing dice because of how easy they are to manipulate.
No, he starts
playing cards because it's harder to manipulate the game.
I think he wins and gets more of what he wants playing dice because Tom teaches him how to cheat. I think we're getting unreliable.
I don't disagree with that statement.
Here, in some, not every, but in some cases, because Tom, if you can spot how to cheat, generally speaking, you know how to cheat.
Well, it's also okay. This is the thing that I think about Matt, and
doesn't he do it to show that one? Not to cut you off, but that same innkeeper where he finally finds his way to an inn worthwhile. Doesn't he show the innkeeper how to do it by doing it? And he's like, but he actually didn't use loaded dice. It was a bit of a bluff on his part using the guy's dice.
Yes. So Matt actually very clearly says
his hands are fast as fuck, boy.
That he does not cheat. He also says that he wins more than he loses, but he absolutely never says, I can make the dice do what I want. He's just lucky enough that it's not fun anymore. He wins so much more than he loses that when he goes to play cards with the nobles, there's less luck in cards. And therefore, his luck doesn't ambiently affect the card. But it's not because he's sitting
likely
there
to manipulate them.
He's less likely to manipulate them without actually trying to manipulate them. Because Matt doesn't walk in and say, I need 5 crowns. Boom, 5 crowns. He walks in and he says, I'm going to start playing dice.
I need to make money.
No, he says, I'm going to start playing dice. And then he does make money over and over again. And at some point, he determines that he can make money playing dice because he wins a lot more than he loses. But it's not because he walks in and he says, oh man, I need to make money. It's absolutely that he is lucky, not that he can make himself lucky.
The Roof Mistress has pointed this out with the Hinderstap Mayor. He challenges the mayor of Hinderstap to a competition of dice, but he loses a little bit to try and load up more. And he straight up says, I need to lose. I need to lose. I need to, but I need to win a little bit. But now I need to give them hope. I need to hook them. I need to make them think that they're going to win all this. And then
hang on 1 second. Did anybody else hear that?
Yeah.
Do.
I don't know where it's coming from. And
I don't know
now
where
it's
it's coming
gone.
from either. It's almost like somebody's like tapping on something. It's like doom 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 doom.
Nope.
It's the weirdest
Anyway.
thing. All right, sorry.
Okay.
No, I was hearing it too. It's okay.
Anyway, but he has the ability. He doesn't necessarily have the ability to say, "Aha, I want 4 crowns and a 1." Ka-ding! He doesn't necessarily have that ability that I know of. But he does have the ability to say, "This is what I need." And in this particular case, with the mayor of Hinterstep, he does say to them straight up, "I need more supplies than what they're giving me. So I need to get them on the hook. I need to show them this treasure. I need to get them hooked. I need them to buy into this so that I can get as many supplies as possible." And the stakes are so high, but he's Taviran, and he knows what he needs, and he's able to look at the situation and say, "This is what I need."
So he comes with the wine. Brought up the point that I was going to bring up. That Matt's luck isn't necessarily in a way where he can determine exactly what happens. It always works out in simply his favor, which, just like the broad phrase of manipulate probability, is very powerful. Working, I want things to, when I want, to always work out in my favor is just as powerful, because it doesn't mean it has to work out overwhelmingly or barely in your favor. And it's the same kind of luck that we see placed whenever he narrowly dodges or falls or trips or slips to avoid being assassinated. When he just happens to like miss with a right hook, but catch the golem in the face with the medallion. So now they're like, "Oh, okay, you do have a weakness. Ah, gotcha." So all this stuff happens in his favor to varying degrees. Now I think Matt augments his proclivity for things going his way, which is the best way he understands it, with what he learns from Tom with sleight of hand. I think both of these aspects work in conjunction with each other. So if it's a situation where maybe Matt, no matter what Matt does, he can't kind of cheat his way into winning, like playing cards, maybe he just can't force it to happen, then maybe some of his luck and Tavir nature, if what he's doing is on a track that ultimately benefits the pattern's path to balance, to rebalancing itself, then it happens. Because there are times where Matt says, "I really need this to happen for what I want," and it doesn't happen. And he's like, "What's going on with my luck? Why is my luck broken? What the fuck is happening?"
And then the dice start
because what he's trying to
tumbling in his
do
head.
doesn't because what he's trying to do doesn't march in step with a direction the pattern is trying to push him to. And when his decision locks him into a path that is going to be positive for himself and or the pattern's direction that it's trying to nudge him into, like he comes with the wine set, and like we've talked about, the dice stop.
That is a really
and he
good
always
point.
goes, "Oh shit."
And sometimes he knows what it is, and sometimes he doesn't. That's a good point. And when the dice stop thundering, sometimes it's a good thing that happened, and sometimes it's not. And he knows he needs to be fucking ready for some shit.
Yeah. Put in his trauma plate.
Oh, God. Okay. You know what? This is a subject I think we could talk about all day, every day. And I love it. This is one of those things that Robert Jordan wrote so well. And it's one of those things that it's so much fun to really chew on when you're reading the books. Is what's happening? We don't know. Yes, on first glance, on first read, you look at these people and you go, "Yep, that's plot armor. That's just plot armor, plain and simple." But as we read through again and again, and we look at these kinds of situations, we go, "God damn, no, there's some depth to this. This is not a simple, well, okay, it is a simple writing technique, but he does a really good job of surrounding that with viable story meat to give it a good plausibility.
You mean a good story meat.
A good story meat. Morshadi,
Yeah.
I want to say specifically to you, thank you for being here. We always love having you on the show. We always love having you in the chat as well. Round us out. Give us your final thoughts. What's going on? What the heck is this? Say it. Just spin it.
The pattern is just one big toolbox, and the Taveran are just, small little
Taveran are a
nuts
crescent wrench.
that everything's just being
adjustable
screwed
wrench.
around. They're just
It's a bunch of tools in a box, bro. Come
just
on.
tools in a box, bro.
Just like that video I watched last night.
Everybody's spinning around a maypole, and everyone just go up and down Rand's pole. All right, that's it.
All we are tools in the box.
Does that mean that Rand is the 10 millimeter?
Rand is triggered by that song.
Ratchet.
Do not sing that around Rand.
That we can't find? Yeah.
He's the 10 mil
Rand is the 10 millimeter socket. Yes! Daniel. Oh, wait, were you done?
But just like with the 10 millimeter socket, whenever we lose it, there's always going to be another one we have to go buy.
Daniel, final thoughts.
My final thoughts.
You always find them stuck between 3 Allen keys.
So my final thoughts on this are you can't have one without the other. And that is to say that if you think the pattern is forcing people to do things, then it's forcing everyone to do them. And if you don't think the pattern is forcing people to do things, then it's forcing none of them to do it. And I will die on this mountain forever because I hate people who say that Rand, Matt, and Perrin don't get to do any of their own stuff.
Then you will die braver than most.
And yet Egwene and Nynaeve and Moraine and Lan and Gawain and Galad and all of these people are absolutely, dope characters because they get to make their own decisions and all of their accomplishments are their own. I absolutely think, especially after this discussion, that if you think it's one, then you think it's one for all of them. And if you think it's the other, then you think it's the other for all of them, because cherry picking your decisions about who can and who can't is absolutely circular logic that does not work.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes, Daniel.
Well, then call me a Sith, which is way more fun.
We've got Darth Daniel.
Oh yeah,
Andrew.
Don't be mad that Taveran's run on ChatGPT. All right.
Ayo.
It should not. This is going up then. Calling something a logical fallacy doesn't make it a logical fallacy. When you're working in a world where you have variable degrees of things that need to happen or should happen for a core goal of balance and a return to balance, you can have variable degrees, just as you have varying degrees of air pressure, varying degrees of sea pressure, varying degrees of gravitational influence, just like Taviran can enact and experience varying degrees of free will. Because for one to exist, the other must also exist, or you can't tell the difference between them. So, that being said, I believe that you do have instances where the people who do wind up being Taviran have free will, but when they're acting as Taviran, they don't have the free will or the free agency. Because
it's almost like that's exactly what I was saying about everybody, and that was my point.
No, you said only one can exist or the other can exist. I'm saying they can both exist simultaneously.
Because if Taviran can make their decision sometimes and are caused to make their decision other times, then the pattern also makes other people make decisions that help the pattern and other Taviran without allowing them to have free will sometimes and have free will other times. So not all their accomplishments are also their own, but not all of their accomplishments are the patterns. That's what I'm saying. You can't say one group gets all free will, none free will, or some free will without saying that everybody else also gets that same amount of free will. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I can, because the pattern is not absolutely lockstep uniform the entire way through. It's not. Simply not. It physically cannot be lockstep all the way through. Or every time Rand turns right to do something for the pattern to restore balance, then everybody that doesn't hate Rand would turn in lockstep and do something for the balance.
That's
and they
not.
don't. The Shan go completely opposite to the counter of balance.
This is Andrew's last words.
I didn't call it a logical fallacy. I pointed out the flaw in the logic. But that being said, I think they can both absolutely exist at the same time. It depends on your proximity to those anchor points, to those gravity wells of ta'veren. Because if the ta'veren doesn't need to reach out all the way to Seanchan to affect something to go its way right then and there, it's not going to. So whenever the ta'veren are in the midst of being needed for the pattern, whether it is they themselves that are forced in a direction or the rest of the pattern bending towards them, pushing them in a direction, they don't have free will. They may think they do. They may think they can make a choice in a certain direction. It doesn't matter if you think you can go left or right. If your only actual physical ability is to go straight, then you're only going straight. It's a simple matter of reality. So I agree with Morshadi's original point. ta'veren, when acting as ta'veren, do not have free agency, while others, by varying degrees of their proximity and need to do anything in regards to the pattern, will have varying degrees of free will. And when the ta'veren aren't acting on it, then maybe everyone has free will if there's no other ta'veren acting in other areas that impact it as well. So that's it I have.
I'm going to say this. Choice is, and I think, and you guys in the comments below, let us know who you agree with. Let us know what your perspectives on this issue is. But I will say, I believe that I'm kind of a middle ground here, because I love choice and consequence as a topic of discussion. I tell my kids that the road to happiness is paved with choices that give them the most options. Because here's the thing, you can make choices and those choices have consequences. Some of those choices will limit future options significantly. Some of those choices do not limit future options at all. It doesn't matter, which is why I told them that, I'm sorry, your high school grades don't matter one bit. Nobody in the professional world is going to go, what grades did you get in high school? So when people are like, your high school grades, it matters. No, it doesn't. What matters is your ability to study, your ability to stay on task, your ability to learn, and your ability to make those things viable, so that when you move into future endeavors, you have more opportunities and options available to you because you have the ability to study and learn. Now, you have people that get straight A's that hone in on one talent, one ability, and guess what? The consequences of their choices are limited. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. But when you talk about choice and consequence, you can make choices that will advance you, choices that will give you more opportunities, or you can make choices that will limit future opportunities. If I make the choice to go out and do meth and make the choice to do meth a bunch of times and be addicted to meth, guess what? My choices in the future are severely limited until I can get out of that addiction cycle. That's how it is. That's reality. When it comes to ta'veren, I do believe ta'veren have agency. ta'veren can say, I will go over here. ta'veren can kick against the pricks, as it were. However, the consequences for those actions are paid for in such extremes that it behooves them to follow the route that they are supposed to follow. So do they have agency?
Stop trying to convince me with one of my favorite words, asshole.
Yeah.
You know behoove is one of my favorite words.
I got you, son.
How
but
dare
that's it. You know what? You make your own decisions. You tell us. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Give us all your best well actually in the comments. Make Sexy Morshadi proud. Sexy Morshadi, thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure to have you. And because we're recording on a new platform tonight, there is a very good chance that we'll lose this episode as well. And you still won't have been a guest on the Black Tower podcast. But that's okay.
So far, I'm 50-50. So
thank you all for being here. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting us really sincerely. Hitting the subscribe button, hitting the thumbs up button, subscribing on our Podbean. All those things help us more than you know. And we sincerely appreciate it. We are so happy that you guys listen. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being an amazing person. Thank you so much for conducting yourselves professionally while we give you your weekly dose of taint. And we hope that wherever you are, you're just a little bit more insane than you were when you first started. From all of us here at the Black Tower, my name is Josh, and I have been your Sorovan Mahale.
And I know that we always agree on the same points of view here at the Black Tower.
We always fully agree on everything.
Well, we don't. I do love it whenever Daniel and I don't agree because it is some of the best debate discussion that I get to have.
It is.
Because I don't get to have a lot of it.
It's good.
Not a lot of people debate. I actually just don't know a lot of people, so I stay off of Twitter. So yeah. But Daniel never fails to impress with the debate. And at the end of the day, for anybody that thinks that we do hate each other,
oh God, no.
You're right. We do absolutely despise each other. Every day of the yesterday, not yet. No, we love each other.
No, we hate each other every Tuesday, and then every other day.
we love debating each other. And we get very passionate about it.
That's true.
But I am your Bajan Mahal Andrew, and before we bring Daniel to close it out, Morshadi, like we do with every guest, where can the people find you if they liked you? And as I understand it, you recently were a guest on another podcast. I know you shared it in our Discord.
I was on
the podcast. I haven't got to listen to it yet.
So. It's good. I listened to it. It was good.
I was just recently on the They Might Be Dark Friends podcast for the episode 5 Particle Man podcast, talking about the old times and feeling like an old man on Twitter at the time. So, all three of you would appreciate the episode.
Hey.
I represent that.
I still remember whenever my copy of Fires of Heaven was on 16 floppy disk.
Yeah.
I remember when you loaded up Twitter on your computer with a laser disc.
I remember when the only tweets we had on the monitor came from the Blue Jay that landed on my field.
I definitely don't remember.
I remember the first time I looked up Blue Waffle.
No! No! Morshadi does not speak for this podcast.
No, he does not.
Anyway, that was great and fun time.
Nope.
Thank you for the biffang. Great podcast. Please go and listen to them. And there was some great talk about accessibility in the Twitter Time universe, and also just in general. But you can find me on Twitter at @more_shoddy. From there, or more shoddy anywhere else. And I just say thank you guys for having me, both in
Always
the chat and on stream all the time. And I would like to say, Daniel, I always appreciate our discussions. and I've said this many, many, many times before. If I were to start a podcast, you would be the person I'd want to start a podcast with. In terms of a Wheel of Time podcast. Maybe we'd only have one episode. But
okay, everybody, this is a campaign right now to peer pressure Morshadi into coming to the Gathering Madness in October. He's already been like, true. Oh, work, time off, money.
Oh, right.
I need you all to go in there. I need you all to come, first of all. We need you to come to the Gathering Madness October 14th at Evermore Park in Pleasant Grove, Utah. You do not want to miss. And I need you to tag Morshadi every time you buy a plane ticket or get on our website and get our hotel, because we do have a hotel room block. Every time you do that, I need you to tag Morshadi and let him know that you're going to be at the Gathering Madness.
Hey, Morshadi, how about I come pick you up and we drive down to the gathering.
On his bike. On his bike. You're going to ride on Daniel's bike.
A, I'm not going to ride on your bike the entire way to Utah. B, I'm not your bike coach.
I never said
Bro,
you
I want to see this so bad now.
Dumb and Dumber.
I just want to see
Straight
Daniel roll up on because you have a ninja, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to see Daniel roll up on the ninja, more shoddy, like just cuddled up on his back.
Can you even put a sidecar on a ninja?
I'm sure we could figure
with enough
it
welding
out.
and duct tape. Yeah.
Stop.
Oh man,
Lord Almighty!
Daniel,
we're gonna
round
make
us
this
out.
happen.
No.
Give us your
Indeed.
final thoughts, buddy.
My final thoughts are: thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you both, all three of you. Josh and I end up being a little bit more in lockstep than everybody else, which is boring. So thank you for being here to actually make the podcast interesting, for actually having really well put together logical thoughts that we can then talk about and actually make good content about, because you are both very good debaters and you both bring receipts. And it is very enjoyable to go ahead and do this with all of you every Tuesday. If you are not currently listening on Tuesdays to the live episodes, get your butt to Patreon. $1 a month is all it takes to go ahead and listen live. And then you can listen to all of these things as they happen and send us pictures of sidecars in our chat. Other than that, you guys are awesome.
Here it is.
You guys are awesome. And we are so happy to have you guys here. Thank you for being here this morning. And in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
You've been having so much trouble just fitting